I want to welcome to the show a nutrition and functional medicine expert who has spent over 2 decades helping thousands of people successfully reclaim their health. She's a recognized leader in the alternative health field and a pioneer in the fasting movement. Her popular YouTube channel combines the latest science with practical lifestyle tools every person can use to reset their health. She is the host of one of the leading science podcasts, the Resetter Podcast, and the author of 3 best-selling books, The Menopause Reset, The Reset Factor, and The Reset Kitchen. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mindy Pelz. Dr. Mindy, thank you for joining us from sunny San Jose. Is that where you are?
Yes, I am.
We are in the frozen tundra of Syracuse, New York, so
Yes.
quite a different backdrop here. But thank you again for taking your time.
Thank you for having me. Like I said, I just love talking about fasting. So any opportunity to get people turned on about fasting, I'm up for.
Well, let's get right into that. So what is fasting, intermittent fasting? What is autophagy? What are some of the basics that we need to kind of know just to kind of enter into this world of fasting?
Yeah, I think the high-level idea around fasting is to realize that the human body was not designed to eat all day. So this is like the first sort of mind shift that we are meant to go for periods without food. And when we do that, there are literally miracles and chemicals that start to get sparked inside our body that promote healing. So what we have been taught about breakfast being the most important meal of the day, eating 6 meals a day, speeding up our metabolism, all of this is what I call urban myths. I've dove into the science trying to find anything that could back up these things that we've believed in for so long. I can't find anything. We are meant to operate and come from a place of what I call metabolic switching, where we eat sometimes and we fast sometimes. And when you're switching in and out of eating and fasting, you actually accelerate healing in the body.
All right. So this is more than just a weight loss plan then, right? So
Yes.
This is a health plan, a lifestyle plan, a way to be a better person than just a way to lose weight?
Yeah, so this is really interesting because what happens people come to fasting because of weight loss. And you can lose weight. I mean, in our Resetter group, it's crazy. We've watched people lose over 100 pounds easily by approaching just adding fasting in. But if you look at what weight is really excess. Your body had to find a place to store excess sugar, excess hormones, excess toxins. So it stored it in your fat. And it made more fat so that it's actually like a safety mechanism so that it doesn't store it around your organs. So with fasting, what happens is you're actually going after that stored fat. So there is a weight loss piece to it. But what people don't often talk enough about is there are a lot of other really cool things that happen, like you mentioned, autophagy. The cells will start to clean themselves up. Your body makes ketones. Ketones go up into the brain, and they start to repair neurons in the brain. Inflammation goes down. We see even like genes for cancer can get turned off. So there's so much more to the story than just weight loss.
So that makes it seem like this intermittent fasting can be for anybody, or is there a certain type of people?
Absolutely. Okay. It's not even that it could be, it should be. It's like it should be for everybody. People, if you just take the diet you're doing and you add on intermittent fasting, you will get such a better result from that than just the diet alone.
All right. So I mentioned before we went on, so I've been intermittent fasting for about 3 years, and I've had questions asked to me, why are you doing this? You don't need to lose any weight, whatever. And, that's all relative, I guess, depending on what you're looking at. But I decided to do it not for weight loss, but for the health benefits. I don't know if there's a way to necessarily measure that. I feel good, which I guess is probably the ultimate way to measure pretty much any way of lifestyle change. So I feel good. It wasn't that difficult for me. Excuse me. I wasn't much of a breakfast person. I basically removed breakfast from my life. On a side note, I'm a bartender, so sometimes my eating schedule can be quite different than most other people's. But by removing that morning food, it wasn't that difficult. After a while, it just became a pretty much easy habit. I usually don't eat. I eat a late lunch. I can eat dinner whenever I do. I'm almost never short of like 12 hours, 14 hours, but I very frequently get to 16, 17 hours. I'm always focused on what's tripping my fast. So it becomes, when I always mark when the last time I ate, so I kind of know where I'm at. And then I'm trying to figure out what's tripping the fast. So is it any calorie?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is like actually the $1 million question that everybody wants to know. What breaks the fast? So it's anything that will raise your blood sugar. So think of it like this. When you go to bed at night, your blood sugar starts to go down. So when you wake up the next morning, if that blood sugar continues to go down, it will trigger what we call your ketogenic energy system. So when your blood sugar hits a low enough spot, all of a sudden you switch over into this energy system. And we know this energy system has been triggered from the presence of ketones. So like when you say like it hasn't been that hard, I'm not surprised, because with ketones in your blood, ketones go up into the brain and they start to shut off the hunger hormone. So that's why it becomes easier and easier to fast. So if you have a cup of coffee in the morning, for most people, the cup of coffee is not going to raise their blood sugar. If you put cream in your coffee, may not raise your blood sugar. You put Coffee Mate in there, now you got some chemicals and maybe some sweeteners, now it's going to raise your blood sugar. And once your blood sugar goes back off, it shuts off that ketogenic pathway, and you're now out of a fasted state. So there are like teas and coffees, even fat. A lot stay in that fasted state by having a scoop of MCT oil or ghee, or even like a nut butter or an avocado. Something fat rich doesn't always spike your blood sugar. So it's really about what spikes that.
So can you touch on artificial sweeteners at all? Is that something that's going to spike the sugar? So like, I'd like to think I'm healthy, and I have these organic energy drinks that are, they don't have, there's stevia, and there's, I don't know, I feel like a sugar alcohol, maybe like xylitol or something in there. Do those all are they breaking the fast because they're raising your blood sugar?
Yeah, those start to become a personal situation. So like I will tell you, NutraSweet, for example, actually does spike your blood sugar and will spike insulin, so it can pull you out of a fasted state even though it has no sugar in it. Stevia, for some people, they can get away with it. Some people can't. Monk fruit, some of the alternative sweeteners, some people can get away with it. Some people can't. So here's how you know. You take a blood sugar reader and you test your blood sugar, and then you drink the drink that you are curious about, and then you take a half an hour later another reading. If your blood sugar stays the same or dips down, you're good. If it boosts it up, now you're out of a fasted state.
Should you do that test while you're in a fasted state? Okay.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Good point.
So Dr. Mindy, how long do you recommend fasting for? Like what's the baseline, and then what's optimal? What's the goal?
Yeah. Well, I would say everybody should try for at least 13 to 15 hours almost every day. And the reason for that is the research is incredible. I mean, it shows that inflammation will go down. You're in this ketogenic fat burning energy place. And you also start to secrete something called growth hormone. And growth hormone slows the aging process down. It burns fat. There's great research for women on 13 to 15 hours of fasting every day. They had women with breast cancer had a 70% less reoccurrence of breast cancer if they did intermittent fasting for 13 to 15. So it's like a sweet spot. Almost everybody can get themselves there. But then after that, there's still some really cool things that kick in. So 17 hours of fasting, you get something called autophagy. And autophagy is where the cells start to clean up any bacteria or viruses that might be inside the cell. It will start to kill those pathogens. It repairs like proteins and organelles, cleans the cells up. At 24 hours, you get a whole rebooting of your intestinal stem cells. So anybody with gut issues can do really well with 24. And then the Mac Daddy is a 3-day water fast, and the research on that is it can reboot your whole immune system. So I always say it's what you want to do. It's up to you, but intermittent fasting should be a daily habit for sure.
So daily should be 13 to 15 hours, and then strive for 17 if you can, once or twice a week, once or twice a month. And then how often would you do the 3-day water fast?
Yeah, 3-day water fasts are like once a year, maybe twice a year if you just want to have a good reboot to your but they're not done right now. And we recommend, I usually tell people to do what we call a 5-1-1. So 5 days a week you intermittent fast, 13 to 15 hours. 1 day a week you push your fast. Try to do it a little longer. If you can go 17, great. If you want to go 24, go 24. And then 1 day a week actually don't fast. That's sort of the, or do whatever you feel like doing, because it's the variation. Again, we're made for this metabolic switching. We're made to eat food and we're made to go without food. So we should be able to go in and out of these metabolic states effortlessly. And if we're not, then we are actually, it's a sign that our mitochondria, our cells are not healthy.
Interesting. So let me just get one more if you don't mind. All right, so now the fasting's good. What types of foods would we want to eat versus stay away from? Anything that would affect the autophagy, the overall benefits, processed, non-processed, proteins, carbs, fats, whatever it might be?
It's a great question. So the refined flours, the refined sugars, and the inflammatory oils, so like your canola oil, your cottonseed oil, corn oil, soybean oil, those are going to make it more difficult for you to switch over into this fat-burning ketogenic place, and it'll make your fasting a lot harder. So the first thing I say is take all the refined stuff out. Before you decide you're going to count macros or go keto or anything like that, let's just clean up your diet. Take out refined flours, take out refined sugars, and work on your oils. And then fasting will be really much easier.
Am I good with olive
now,
oil?
If you want olive oil is good, as it's technically you're not supposed to cook with it. So avocado oil, once olive oil heats up, it becomes an inflammatory oil.
You just ruined my whole day. Honest to God.
I know,
I
sorry.
cook everything with olive oil. I love olive oil. All right, so I got to use avocado oil now?
Yes, avocado oil. Yeah, or here's the other trick. When you're cooking with olive oil, if you're putting it in a pan, you don't want the pan to heat up where it's like smoking. You don't want it, once it smokes, now it's turned. That's the indication it's
I don't do that. I use it as like a coating on the pan, and then it absorbs in the food. Yeah. I'm good again. All right, we're friends again, Dr. Mindy. Let's keep going.
There you go.
So refined sugars, refined flours. Is that like homemade pastas and stuff like that? Try to minimize or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, minimize. I mean, you can go in. The next layer is where people are going to a world where they're keeping their carbohydrates under 50 net carbs. So that would be next level. But if you're just looking to like try these principles on, try intermittent fasting, 13 to 15 hours, and then it'll be a lot easier if you stay away from those foods I mentioned.
So it sounds like some of this you're saying with the intermittent part or changing up the fasting is kind of like interval training where people are actually doing training, right? They're keeping their body off guard, so you're kind of keeping your body off guard in another way?
It's so well said. So there's something in the body called a hormetic stress. And a hormetic stress is a positive stress on the body. So interval training is a great example of that, HIIT training. What we found is in short spurts of stress, the body repairs itself. And that's really what intermittent fasting is doing, is so you want it to be a little uncomfortable, because you're putting just enough pressure on your cells that they start to heal. And that's the coolest part, is you don't need a supplement. You don't need something from the outside in. You just need to know how to use these principles so that your body can heal itself.
All right. So let's take what we've learned here and apply it to the world of COVID here. So we've been going through, almost a year now here of the pandemic. It's been a health issue. How can intermittent fasting play a role in helping us get out of this and helping us minimize any future pandemics that might be something like this?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for asking this, because if there was one thing everybody's mind right now is that intermittent fasting is a beautiful way to improve your immune system. And here's why, especially with viruses. So viruses don't have their own energy source. They have to live off of your energy source. So if a virus comes into a cell that's a sugar burner, it is actually going to gain momentum. So you are giving it energy and it can move on to the next cell and replicate much faster in your body. If it comes into a cell that's a fat burner, that's in this ketogenic energy system, that virus will come in and it literally dies. It will not replicate. So the name of the game right now, if we could get everybody in individual. The second piece that we're not talking enough about is that the coronavirus will camouflage itself in sugar. So a lot of sugar, you're staying in that sugar burner place. Not only are you giving that virus energy, but you're also to be camouflaged so your own immune system cannot detect it. So when we hear 10 days, 14 days from the time of exposure for you to get a symptom, well, a lot of that is because it takes your immune system that long to figure out that it's there. Well, in those 10 days, if you've been eating sugar, you've just given that virus so much energy that it can start to move around your system in a really bad way. And then that's the whole cytokine storm. Now you've got this cytokine storm that started, and all of that could have been avoided by being more in this fat burning place.
So this is a way of preparing ahead of time for any future,
yes.
Right? So you're keeping your body ready for an eventual, another virus is going to enter. It doesn't have to be COVID, right? This can be the flu or any other viruses.
Any virus, and I think one of the things that's the most disturbing about this moment in history is that this virus is now mutating, and they keep talking about how we're going to see more viruses. Okay, well, at that point, there becomes the question of, well, what can I do so that I just am not a good viral host? And the number one thing you can do is function from this ketogenic fat burning place more often so you don't give viruses energy. And the best way to do that is through intermittent fasting.
All right, I'm going to switch gears altogether right here because it's my nature to try to play within the rules without outright cheating. So alcohol intake, if somebody is prone to drink, what are the various alcohols, whether it's beer, whiskey, vodka, tequila, whatever, that will do the most harm to the benefits of intermittent fasting versus the ones that will be the least bad for you, if you happen to know the answer to that?
I love this question. Nobody ever asked me this question. You guys are awesome. Okay, so for starters, anything with a sweetener, let's talk about what you're going to mix your alcohol with. So if you're going to mix your alcohol with a sweetener, let's just use a pina colada or like a sweet cocktail, that puts you in sugar burner state. And the higher your sugar levels go, your blood sugar levels go, the more difficult fasting will be. So the first thing is if you had to choose between let's think of something we'll just use pina colada as an example, not that very margarita. Okay, if you had to choose between a margarita or a vodka soda, a vodka soda would be a better choice if you're trying to do more fasting. Sure. So that's how it works on cocktails. The other thing you can look at is look at where the alcohol comes from. So when you look at beer comes from a grain, and grains typically spike your blood sugar higher. So, and wine can be the same way, although there's some exceptions to that. There's low alcohol wines that are emerging that literally will not take you out of a fasted state. So, and we've tested it. But with beer and wine, you're looking at grains and grapes, and both of those can spike blood sugar. So you're back at a boring old vodka soda would be your best bet, something where you're not spiking your blood sugar. And again, you could test it. You could test it and see.
You should.
The other thing we've tested is what can you break your fast with alcohol? That's probably an even better question. And you have to remember that because we get a lot of people that are fasting all day and then they go out to dinner or they come home at the end of the day and they want to have their glass of wine. And the thing to remember is your liver is not, you're going to probably process that alcohol very quickly and you may get drunk a little quicker. You might feel the effects of it a little quicker. So if you do start playing with alcohol and fasting, just be aware that your tolerance may be down.
Interesting.
So don't get the twist with your JMO.
Listen, I'm not the one.
On a maybe somewhat related note, I'm assuming this doesn't affect, but maybe you have insight onto cannabis does that affect fasting at all one way or the other? I know there's not really caloric intake, but.
Yeah. Well, so here's what's interesting is anything that spikes your cortisol levels is going to spike your blood sugar. And so with alcohol and cannabis both, they tend to have an immediate relaxation feeling. And so as your body relaxes, your glucose can go down. So I haven't seen the research, but I would think that it could actually be supportive and helpful and not the opposite. Whereas with alcohol, you're raising blood sugar, so you have to be careful there. But with cannabis, you're not raising blood sugar. You're actually relaxing the body. I think it could actually be a helpful tool.
Score for me.
Allegedly.
So
hypothetically. We live in New York, Shawn.
Right. Well, a couple weeks.
You got to come to California.
I know. I have friends. Mr. Hussong, anything else for Dr. Mindy? Because I want to kind of see if we missed anything, if she wants to kind of fill in anything, but I want to know if you missed anything yourself.
I mean, I think we covered most of it. It's follow a good diet even when you are intermittent fasting. Don't go crazy. Yeah. And then it sounds like maybe you want to stick with tequilas, vodkas, that kind of stuff over the scotches, the bourbons, and that kind of stuff.
The clear is probably over the darks.
Is that a baseline correct?
Yeah. Yeah, so you guys probably know better than me, but if you look at like whiskey, they're like made from a grain, right? Yeah. So you got to look at what the alcohol is made from, and grains typically will raise the blood sugar higher.
What about it versus potato? So some vodkas are made from potato.
Right. That's why vodka does better.
Okay.
Potatoes, it doesn't spike it as much.
And what about agave?
That's tequila.
Yeah.
That's sugar.
Yeah, it can spike your blood sugar, but tequila does seem to do better. Now, there's a lot of belief that tequila has an antibacterial piece to it, that it helps support your microbiome. So that could be why tequila tends to do better. But we find tequila and vodka definitely don't spike the blood sugar as much. The whiskeys and what gin is like juniper, right? So I'd have to test that one.
I don't want to drink gin anyway, so I wouldn't worry about that.
All right.
It sounds like I need to go pick up some Hussong's tequila is what it sounds like.
I think we covered a lot of the questions we had. So Dr. Mindy, is there anything that we didn't touch on or anything that we touched on that we want to expand on a little bit further, something that we might have overlooked real quick?
Yeah, no, the most important thing for people to know if they're hearing this for the first time and they're like, this is so foreign to me, is that actually the human body was designed to fast. So if you go back and you think about like how we didn't just like come out of the cave and have access to food. We had to go hunt for food. So the body is made to stay alive. So we are designed to go without food. And I think what happens is that's scary for people when they first make that shift. They think they're going to pass out. They don't understand what's going on. But as you work that muscle more and more and more, it just gets easier and easier. And all of a sudden, it's really cool because you don't have to actually worry about your diet as much as you start to fast more, because you just start to see that you're naturally not hungry.
Okay. I think that was pretty informative. I will make sure to share all of your links that I have here. You guys can check out drmindypelz.com and kind of start from there. Dr. Mindy, I thank you for your time and enjoy whatever the weather is out in San Jose, and we'll be thinking of you.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. And yeah, thanks again for the opportunity. I just want people to experience fasting because it's just the coolest thing. And more people need to be doing it.
All right.
So
I appreciate your help.
Awesome.
Even on a personal level, I thank you. So keep up the good work.
Yeah, you do the same.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.